Hello everyone, my name is Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, and welcome to the channel. So Dauntless Update 1.5 is less than a week away and we'll be losing a few things come that update. We'll no longer have access to patrols, pursuits, solo, and private matchmaking on General Hunt Behemoths as well as Granny's Heartbreaker tonics. And I wanted to give all of these features of the game a proper send-off since we will be without them for a while, if not forever. I also wanted to set the record straight about a weapon that often receives a lot of negative criticism that it doesn't really deserve. Depending on what the video title is, you'll likely know that I'm talking about repeaters. Now, some of this talk has no doubt died down a little bit since recently repeaters have often been featured at the top of the squad's leaderboards for trials. This is due to the pangar unique effect on repeaters and how insane it can be when paired with the Granny's Heartbreaker tonic. Repeaters are the only weapon that's currently capable of pairing the pangar unique effect with any of the elements in the game, which is a reason why they're an appealing pick for squads right now, and who knows, it may still be preferable to play repeaters in squad trials once 1.5 hits. But for those of you who aren't yet aware, allow me to show you all the power of the repeaters. So in this video you guys will see heroic plus patrol speedruns done with repeaters. And I guess if you're here after the 1.5 update has dropped and don't know what these are the toughest behemoths you would face outside of the trials in the old system. And I'm going to be taking out almost all of these behemoths with repeaters in 10 seconds or less. If you enjoy, consider leaving a like on the video. And if you enjoy Dauntless content, consider subscribing to the channel where I post Dauntless content every week. Before we get into it, I want to explain it in more detail. I'll timestamp the video for you guys who just want to look at the hunts. The timing method is from the moment the first amount of damage has been dealt, the time starts, and the time stops when the behemoth's HP bar shows it has been defeated, or 0 out of 4 slices of the heart remaining. All of these are in the heroic plus patrols, which, due to being unable to pursue the heroic plus behemoths aside from Shroud and Rezakiri, made this take quite a bit longer for me to get all of the footage for because I had to queue up and just hope it was the correct behemoth after a certain point. But I wanted to show off how powerful repeaters actually are and ensure that it was the version of the behemoth with the most HP outside of trials, so that's why I suffered through heroic plus instead of heroic. When the hunting grounds come out, this might actually be a solved problem, so that's an upside for the 1.5 changes there. The one behemoth that isn't possible in under 10 seconds, or at least the way of doing so is rather specific, is Skarn. So Skarn has the benefit of its armor, which attacks from slashing, piercing, and shot damage types deal 75% part and core damage to it, meaning swords, warpikes, chainblades, repeaters, and axes. The pangar unique effect inherits these stats from the weapon, meaning the pangar unique effect is dealing less damage to Skarn than against other behemoths. Even still, I was able to beat it in around 12 seconds, so the mark was just barely missed here. Some of the other behemoths do have some aspect of their fight that makes getting this fast of times less consistent, but it's still manageable. Quillshot's spikes are similar to Skarn's armor, but can be slightly more dangerous than it due to how little part HP some of these spikes have. On Quillshot specifically, if the pangar unique effect is placed on spikes, and if the spikes break, then the ball disappears until the spikes reappear when it's enraged, which kill your run. But thankfully, if you shoot in the right spot on his face, you can avoid this issue entirely. Heroic plus Valamir has one of the highest HP values in the game, having similar HP to some of the Dauntless trial behemoths. Because of that, it was difficult to work out how I would be able to kill it in 10 seconds or less with repeaters, but as you'll see, I was indeed able to do it. Charog has the tough hide modifier in the heroic plus variant, meaning it takes 50% part and core damage from slashing, piercing, and shot type attacks. However, the key difference that makes Charog more manageable than Skarn is the marksman chamber. The marksman chamber, when empowered, makes your repeaters deal 80% more part damage, and when the part is broken, this becomes 80% more core damage. So once the head on Charog breaks, you'll have gone from dealing a base 50% core damage to dealing a base 100% core damage with an additional 1.8 times multiplier to your core damage. This amount of damage extra is then enough to net you a time somewhere in the 8 to 10 second range on it. The same doesn't quite hold true for Skarn, because once the armor has broken, the mark loses its effect, meaning you won't have that extra 1.8 times damage multiplier to your other shots. But there's a rather specific way that I could have possibly gotten this to work on Skarn. This build also uses the Tragic Echo, so I would have needed to throw a concussion grenade on the spinning interrupt, then die, then marksman on the Skarn's face while the armor is off of it. The armor tends to come back onto its face after this happens, meaning your next magazine or so will be dealing 75% damage, and because of concussion grenades taking up a slot for my consumables, I would have to trade it out for either attack speed or damage to use them for said strategy. Any of the other methods of interrupting Skarn with repeaters would place the pangar ball in the incorrect spot, most likely being on the armor, which would probably ruin the run. But who knows, maybe there's something I missed and you might figure out how to do it within the next week. If you do find out how to take out the heroic plus Skarn in less than 10 seconds with repeaters within the next week, then feel free to send me a video showing so, and I shall pin a comment of it or something. Now let's move on to the build I used. The credits for this build go to Captain Maelstrom, who spent a good amount of time labbing with the Pangar Prism on repeaters to result in creating various iterations of a new build. The links to his original build videos will be in the description. But to summarize it for you, we've got 6 Catalyst, 6 Cunning, 6 Rage, 6 Overpower, and 3 Discipline at work in this build. For the repeaters, we'll be using the Marksman Chamber, Captain's Grip, Frostbite Prism, and the Lucky Magazine or the Precision Sights mod. The barrel will just be whatever the strong element is versus that behemoth, and using the Tragic Echo we could get a large damage boost in after we've died. For Skarn specifically, I swapped to the Salvo Chamber due to the mark from Marksman becoming ineffective after the first couple of seconds. I found that the Salvo Chamber was what made a sub 15 second run of Skarn even possible. I tried Salvo Chamber on some of the other behemoths, but it was mostly the same, and that should be about all you need to know about this, so enjoy the runs, guys. Again, consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already for more Dauntless content. I've been Trevor, I go by the Mr. Trails, and I will catch you guys later.